We're Token2049 with Ryan from Bitwise. And you might know Bitwise is one of the ETFs that launched on Ethereum and Bitcoin this year. How's it been with the launch of the ETF?
Yeah, that's great. So as you mentioned, we launched Bitcoin ETF and Ethereum ETFs earlier this year. I help run the research team at Bitwise, so help manage everything from product research to content research, educating our customers, clients, prospects about crypto. We've been around for 7 years. We work a lot with financial advisors, hedge funds, RIAs, really Wall Street investors who are trying to get allocations to crypto. Right now, it's mainly financial advisors and RIAs. We're working towards pensions, endowments, corporations, and things like that. The ETFs have been great. It's been really exciting to see the ETF launch earlier this year. Bitcoin ETFs have been the biggest ETF launch of all time. Previously, it was the Qs or the NASDAQ ETF that launched back in 1999 and gathered $5 billion in assets in 1 year. So far, the Bitcoin ETFs have gathered around $20 billion in their first year. Ethereum, not as strong, but we're at a weird part of the market, it feels like. And most of the people investing in Bitcoin ETFs don't really know what Ethereum is, particularly Wall Street. So it's a learning curve, and we're just helping institutional investors work their way down that learning curve.
What would you attribute it to that people are into Bitcoin but not into Ethereum? Is it just like mindshare?
Yeah, it's mindshare, exactly. So I think mainstream media really covers Bitcoin all the time. It wasn't really until these ETF launched where you started to see Ethereum get coverage on CNBC or Bloomberg TV or other outlets that institutional investors pay attention to. And so it's mindshare. If you think about a financial advisor, right, who manages money on behalf of clients, parents, teachers, people like that don't manage their own investments, that financial advisor is spending a very small amount of their time thinking about crypto, right? If it's a 1% allocation to their portfolio, they're spending less than 1% of their time actually thinking about crypto, learning about it. So majority of what they spend their time on is Bitcoin. And they really just want to be informed enough to sound smart to their clients, right? They want to act like they know what they're talking about, but they don't often spend the time to go deep into it. So Bitcoin is top of mind. It's kind of the big brother, and it's got a big enough market cap. It has sufficient liquidity, trades tens of billions of dollars a day, and now the ETFs are there, and so it makes it more available. But we'll eventually get to Ethereum, I think.
How a financial asset manager would be talking to their clients? They would be like, gold, simple, easy. How do you approach it as from the Bitwise side? How do you prepare them and tell them what Ethereum is? How do you get that on CNBC?
Yeah, that's a great question. You're right. Bitcoin is digital gold. It's the easiest analogy for Wall Street to really understand. Now, not every Wall Street investor actually has gold in their portfolio, so maybe they understand, okay, Bitcoin has properties like gold, but it's digital, store value. Yeah, they're like, that's great, it's interesting, but we don't really have that in our portfolio. Then you start talking about Ethereum, and you're right, far more complicated. It's smart contracts, and it's DeFi, and it's stable coins, and it's real-world use cases and all this stuff. But I think to them, you really pitch it as it's a tech platform. It's just another tech platform. Not every investor who invests in technology understands how the underlying technology works. Like everyone owns NVIDIA, but very few people actually understand how NVIDIA chips work, right? Or what they do on the back end. And so I think Wall Street will come around to smart contract platforms, to crypto applications, but they'll view them as software businesses, as technology platforms. Exactly, like a Salesforce, yeah. So different crypto assets, they do different things, and I think it'll actually be easier once Wall Street learns about Ethereum to add it to their portfolio, because they just tell their clients, look, we're adding some more crypto into our tech sleeve, rather than trying to explain, oh, we're buying Bitcoin, and I know you've seen that it's used by criminals, and this country's using it to escape the government. It's like, this is just a tech platform that Wall Street's building on. You have JP Morgan, you have BlackRock, you have all these firms that are starting to launch tokenized funds and other applications, Nike, Starbucks on top of Ethereum or L2s. And so that's actually an easier narrative to sell if you get the mind share.
What if we jump back a few months? ETH ETF was approved in like a 2-week period, and that was like a whirlwind of news coverage and so on. Yeah. From your perspective, what was happening there and how did you react?
It was crazy. It started in Q4 of last year. So the Bitcoin ETFs launched in January of this year. But really it was kind of October, November where you started to see interest from the SEC and engagement from the SEC start to really pick up, and it looked like, okay, something's coming down the pike. And so leading up to the ETF launch, you don't really know what day it's going to happen, right? It's like, we'll probably hear by mid-January, because the SEC has these deadlines where they have to make a decision. And every day we're all waking up on Slack, everyone's like, is it happening today? I don't know, we haven't heard, and so it's kind of on pins and needles. Also, you're trying to line up capital, you're trying to line up a launch campaign around it as well. And so it was a really exciting time, and then it was off to the races. I mean, most of the estimates for these Bitcoin ETFs was that at the most it gathered 4 or 5 billion in the first year, and then again in the first 6 months it gathered 15, 20 billion. So it's blown all expectations out of the water. The Bloomberg ETF experts said that they thought it might get to 10 to 15 billion in its first year. Again, beat that estimate. So it was really crazy behind the scenes, and it's many years of working with the SEC and working with regulators and talking to our investors who really want ETFs. ETFs are one of the main ways that institutional investors actually get exposure to any kind of asset class, whether it's gold or tech stocks or index funds, right? ETFs are very efficient, regulated, easy to use vehicle, easy to tell their clients they're using ETFs. And so it's something that we knew there'd be demand for, but we just had to get regulators on board. We just really had to start moving the needle many years ago, and finally we got there. It's super exciting. Ethereum came out of nowhere. That was really, really unexpected relative to Bitcoin. Yeah.
What's next for the ETFs or other ETFs? Like Solana has been pushed.
Yeah, that's a question we get all the time.
Yeah.
I think there's two things. One thing that we don't get asked that much about from the meetings that we're doing, I spend a lot of my time traveling around the States and now a little bit abroad, talking to investors like financial advisors and RAs about crypto. None of them really are asking about staking, right? But in the crypto community, in the Ethereum community, staking's top of mind. It's like, why would you own ETH if you are not going to stake it? The ETFs don't allow us to stake because of regulatory reasons.
That was like a last minute change though, right?
Yeah. That was one of those back and forth with the SEC where they tell all the issuers, what to change in their application, and staking had to be removed. The interesting thing there is that in Europe and other countries, there are staked Ethereum exchange traded products. And so we're still behind the curve in the US, but I think eventually it will happen. But it's actually not like a big question that we get from investors because they, like we said, they don't really understand it yet. I get more of the, what's the next crypto ETF that's gonna come? Is it Solana? People ask about XRP, and then every once in a while you get a DGen at one of these firms who's asking about some meme coin ETF, right, or something down to the 30, 40, 50th largest asset by market cap. But I think we'll have more ETFs, probably not for a couple of years. Maybe if we have a leadership change at the SEC, we'll start to see more ETFs come.
It's definitely not a bull has started rolling scenario, is
No.
it? It's like, even Ethereum maybe this year, but then it happens, right?
Yeah, they're really in a league of their own. There's so many steps you have to take with these assets in order for the SEC to get familiar with them. You have to have regulated futures markets, which only Bitcoin and Ethereum had. You have to have these assets supported by qualified custodians, things like that. And so Bitcoin and Ethereum really are in a league of their own and have been. I think, again, we'll get there, but it's going to take time to get there for sure.
Thanks a lot for sharing with us and
appreciate
joining
it.
us at the booth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it.